So what's going on with these Souls-like games as well as Elden Ring lately? There's been a lot of controversy. A lot of people might not know about this, but currently Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, any other kind of game, and the recently remastered versions that FromSoftware have released have all been turned offline. The servers have been shut down, and all of the games have actually had their online multiplayer tags removed and just replaced with single player only, basically. And that's an interesting move. Now you might be wondering, why did FromSoftware do that? Because obviously that's kind of an odd decision. It's kind of random. Where did that come from? But the reason is actually kind of interesting. There's an exploit that allows somebody to get remote access to your PC currently, and that basically gives them full control. That's a very lethal exploit that could give somebody your personal information, your card details, and all sorts of other very damaging information and access. So that's obviously why FromSoftware had to shut it down. That would have been a legal issue as well as a huge controversy if somebody would have been affected. But I mean, we don't know if somebody was affected, right? That might come out later. But going into this story, let's talk about it a little bit more. Now, this next quote comes from the individual who made the Blue Sentinel mod, which is Luke Huey. Now, if anyone doesn't know, the Blue Sentinel mod is a mod for Dark Souls 3, which basically provides anti-cheat that FromSoftware has failed to address for years. So the individual has looked across a lot of the network and a lot of the way that FromSoftware handles things, and then he's changed a lot of this up with the Blue Sentinel mod so that it'll intercept hackers and kick them from your game, etc. accordingly. Now, he's also been very careful, as Dark Souls 3 has had individuals innocently banned en masse in the past due to various exploits and hackers getting innocent people banned, which has been addressed luckily by this point, but it was actually brought up by Luke Huey, who found out about that. And his Blue Sentinel mod does not get you flagged, and nobody's been banned for using it, and it's been there for a very long time. However, this is what's interesting about this quote as well. Now, he's had the chance to see the code from the closed network test of Elden Ring, and he can already tell you that there are a lot of crashes and vulnerabilities in Elden Ring's netcode, the exact same ones as in Dark Souls 3. So he does suspect that it's going to only take a few minutes for cheaters to port over all their exploits from Dark Souls 3 over to Elden Ring and make release day or week just complete hell. And then obviously FromSoftware is going to have some kind of problem there, because a lot of mods will just be annoying people, crashing their game, or worse, like we saw, remote access to your PC. Now, Elden Ring, it's going to have easy anti-cheat. FromSoftware did confirm that. But just to verify, easy anti-cheat, and I can tell you this from knowing this, and I've played a ton of games that use easy anti-cheat in the past, is it's definitely a barrier. It's a deterrent. But once it's been bypassed, if your network code still has these exploits, it's not going to fix them. The remote access exploit that is currently in the code is a network code issue in the base game. So as the guy who created the Blue Sentinel's anti-cheat mod for Dark Souls 3 said, they're going to be easily portable to Elden Ring. So what does this mean? It means this remote exploit cheat that's basically made FromSoftware shut down all of their servers and even rename their games as single player might actually be vulnerable on Elden Ring's code as well. They might not have fixed this, and if you want some more evidence as to why this is, let's look to a few years ago. Now, I had to do some delving to find this, but 2 years ago, our guy Luke Huey was in a debate with somebody on Reddit. You know, Reddit, the place where people will debate with anybody, including an anti-cheat software developer, and pretend they know more. But Luke Huey was saying some interesting things, and this is from 2 years ago. So he was asking for the anti-cheat to be improved in future from software development titles. And the reason being is that individuals assumed there might only be some exploits and hacks to annoy people. But as you can see from 2 years ago, he does say that is assuming that they are the only exploits in the game. But he said this is just an example in the thread of a vast number of serious networking problems in every Souls game to date. That kind of sounds like the exact issue that's just been found out. And Luke Yui has confirmed to have reported these to FromSoftware, including in Japanese, and they just kind of fix things very slowly and ignore a lot of the other issues. So if you look at these posts from 2 years ago, the wording is kind of clear, and it's very obvious that he's talking about the networking issue and the remote exploits and other things as well, possibly. And he's told FromSoftware about them, and they've kind of ignored them to the point that Elden Ring's even being developed with this in mind. They've known about this. But that puts FromSoftware in a very awkward position. So let's just put this into perspective. We've had a guy that's literally made an external third-party anti-cheat for Dark Souls 3 because FromSoftware would not do it themselves and wouldn't do a proper job. Now, unfortunately, he cannot tamper with the base network code of Dark Souls. He's not a developer. He can only do his best to kick cheaters and stop them from injecting code into you, etc. But unfortunately, this network exploit, as far as I know, cannot be stopped by third-party programs. It's something ingrained into the base network code that needs to be changed. So this guy, who is extremely educated, has made excessive reports and obviously included much more information than he'll say in public threads to FromSoftware, specifically in Japanese too. And this was so far ago that Elden Ring was definitely in development and they knew about this. And Elden Ring is an open world game with online as part of one of its components, and that includes PvP and player versus environment co-op. So if Elden Ring has this same exploit, it basically means that if they can't fix it in time, they're going to actually have to shut down the servers day one and ensure the game's single player on release. And that is a nasty thing to think about. And it now makes sense why when you think, well, has FromSoftware stated anything publicly about this, as they've known about this issue and they removed the servers a few weeks ago? No, FromSoftware has not addressed this at all in any way in terms of when there's going to be a fix. They haven't given a release date. They haven't even said, will it be in a quarter or anything. Information is so scarce, and when information is scarce, it usually means the problem is pretty bad. Now, just to really emphasize how bad of a problem this is, will the Dark Souls 3 game, for example, get its PvP and player versus environment component back? FromSoftware has not even addressed that. Maybe Dark Souls 3 will now forever be a single-player game. We do not know. And the fact that we do not know that, we don't even know if there will be a patch, is insane to think about when Elden Ring is just 2 weeks away from release. And this major security flaw will probably exist in that game too. An easy anti-cheat is not going to be able to stop that. It will just deter some people from being able to hack the game, but anybody that's intelligent enough to look into the network coding and look for exploits and remote access is obviously going to bypass easy anti-cheat without any problems at all. I mean, if you just look online, there are so many games with easy anti-cheat, where on Google you can just find YouTube videos of hacks that just bypass it so easily. The biggest problem that lies here is the fact that FromSoftware has been given very little time to fix this issue in terms of them being forced to address it. So as we know, FromSoftware has apparently known about this problem and other problems for years. I've actually looked into more depth, but I'm not going to go into screenshot heaven and go into a 5-minute rant over them. The TLDR is this Luke guy, among others, have provided and submitted detailed reports to FromSoftware, and the general idea is they just kind of ignore people. They're very slow on updating, and they only really provide updates when there's a massive controversy or backlash, kind of like this remote exploit, or when people are being massively innocently banned on Dark Souls, which, as we said, was a thing that happened in the past and happily got fixed. Unfortunately, though, this issue isn't as easy to address and solve as the innocent ban issue. And the innocent ban issue isn't so bad, as it just got people banned and then FromSoftware fixed it later on. But in this case, they're getting remote access to your PC, which is kind of crazy to think about. So maybe Elden Ring will actually release with just single player only, and the multiplayer component will come later. Or, maybe it will never come. Maybe Dark Souls 3 will get its multiplayer back. Maybe it never will. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens here. This is a crazy case in the gaming industry. And there's been so many controversies and interesting things lately that I'm very curious to see how this proceeds. I just hope you have a beautiful day as always. Take it easy, and peace.